It's a moment in time. I hope that everyone grasps the enormity of this opportunity.
You just clock off for one split second, Australia will punish you.
Oh, I definitely wanted the ball and he should have passed it.
He should have passed it to it. Something that I think is really underestimated is your toughness.
That's why he can run so fast.
He's just running away. I'm really humbled to be joined by three absolute icons of a period in the game that was so important for me, my development. Mal Reilly, Offiah and Ellery Hanley, three giants of the game, which was such a, like I said, an influential part of my rugby journey. It's the Ashes at the end of this year. And my first memories of rugby league were watching you guys compete in the Ashes around the 80s, 90s. And it's such an important concept, Ellery, the Ashes. What does it mean to you, that series?
Well, just jumping forward in terms of the Ashes coming up now against Australia, the first thing what jumps to my mind in terms of understanding the winning habits, the winning behaviour, staying in control when you're winning or losing, is this. The difficulty what we've probably got at the moment is the players in their concentration. For me, concentration is so important, and understanding that in every split second and moment in a game of 80 minutes, especially against Australia at international level, you cannot afford to slack off for one split second. I know we're going to have a captain on the day of George Williams probably, if he makes it and is fit. But for me, every single player has to be a captain on that particular day. When you play international level, every player has to have a good concentration level, because Australia are brilliant. They've got brilliant individuals.
Yeah.
Collectively, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And the enormous task of dealing with them and their concentration for long periods of time is very, very important. Because we've got players in our side, basically, who are good enough and strong enough, but the factor is that concentration. You just clock off for one split second, Australia will punish you. And that's how it will be probably during the course of this test series for me.
Has that always been the way, Martin, do you think? They've always had us in that regard in terms of our ability to focus for long periods?
I just think for me it's about getting up for that game, about being in the moment, because especially rugby league, it's a game where if you are committed and you are prepared to die on that day, then, you know what I mean, you get 6 tackles, they get 6 tackles, and we see how the Australians play. If you don't make mistakes, as Ellery said, but if you go out there and you get off that line, you know, we've seen it in State of Origin. That is the level, isn't it? You've got test matches, you've got State of Origin. Yeah, I suppose you've got grand finals as well, but when you play on that level, it's different. No matter what anyone says, it's different from another league game or a Wednesday night in, you know, this stadium or that stadium. When you play in those certain games, you're only going to play in a certain, I think Ellery touched on it, you're only going to play on a certain number of these type of games in your whole life.
Yeah.
You can play the whole season. If you don't get into the playoffs, you don't play in the Challenge Cup final, you don't play in a grand final, most of your season is games of varying sizes. But when you come up against the Australians in an Ashes series, it's different. You know what I mean? What, 2 generations of players have missed out on playing
20 years.
Playing in games of this magnitude. So when it comes around again, as it is this year in 2025, it's going to be phenomenal. It's a moment in time. Not only a moment in time for the players playing, but for us as, you know, supporters as watching it, TV, the people on TV, the people in the stadium. That's why I hope that everyone grasps the enormity of this opportunity. Not only the players, but the fans as well, to go there and see it and harken back to the times where we came oh so close and feed off that emotion. You know what I mean? I can feel the emotions like going out with this guy. You know what I mean? It was something that.
Yeah, but just on a broader aspect of the game and the Ashes being won or lost by England, for me what's important is that all the players have to understand their role and their game has to be A1 throughout the whole course of the series. There is no second chances. It's once in a lifetime where you'll probably play maybe 12 games, 10 games against Australia in your whole sporting career. Make the best of it.
Yeah, and Mal, you've come up against Australia on numerous times. I want to take you back to that 1970 series, the last time that we won an Ashes series. I wanted to talk about touring, you know, how important touring is and what a tour was like in 1970 as opposed to, you know, maybe the tours that we experienced.
Oh, quite incredible. I think the thing is that the game, the intensity of the game over there, it's their national sport virtually, right from Brisbane, Darwin, Brisbane, you know, right down to Sydney and that. So, you know, the competitiveness is there from a young age, and they develop and of course they're one of the major countries in the world for making rugby league their major sport. You know, I've enjoyed playing over there. I've enjoyed coaching over there because of the intensity and the fact that, you know, you've got a lot of aspects of the game and people that you can exploit and develop.
Yeah.
You know.
And did you enjoy your time in Australia as a coach? Was that one of the standout parts of your career?
Yeah, well, both playing and coaching over there was tremendous experience for me. Yeah, it was.
And what are the biggest things when you were in charge of this Great Britain team? So you have a 7-year stint where you're in charge of this team next to you. What was your mantra going into Ashes Test series? How did you like to prepare for them?
Well, making sure that the intensity of the game was first and foremost. Research on key players. The fact that, you know, the conditions you're going to play under is not like ours really. It's a lot. The climate is much better, and so you can perform and develop yourself physically and mentally a lot better.
Yeah. So what was it like being coached by Mal, Ellery?
Mal?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Mal knows this, I love him to pieces, and as I do this man here as well, Martin as well, one of my great friends and always will be one of my great friends. But being under the leadership of Malcolm was tremendous. And you probably ask any of the players who have played under Malcolm, he's a gentleman and led by example. And one of the things you don't want to do, when you get your badge of honour, you don't want to let that man down. And that's one of the things I did. I was an extension of his arm. I had the privilege of captaining the Great Britain side and on the tours and everything. And what he told me to do, I did it to the letter. Not because I was frightened of him, but just simply because he was a man who presents himself well and has a great aura about him. And you respect him, you know, because not only has he played the game tough, he played it hard, and you want to follow his example. You don't really want to go on a football paddock and really be a pussycat, really, in terms of you're coming off and you have to face Malcolm and you think to yourself, wait a minute, why didn't I stand up? Why was I not brave? Why was I not tough? And this is what you've got to be. Hence,
Ellery, that was you, wasn't it? Your thing, what I recall from watching you play was you dictated the intensity of games, didn't you?
Well, I think that I tried to make sure that I managed the intensity in terms of not going over the top and being indisciplined, because the discipline will come into a big factor in where you play your football. And what you don't want to be is you don't want to be on the defence too many times against the Australian side. Hence why you've got to make sure every part of your game is simple and you're organised, and that is you're almost making sure every part of where you want to be on the football paddock is planned already where you want to be.
Yeah, and intensity then, Malcolm, how do you coach that into a group?
Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
simply, you know, make sure that you're challenging them all the time, and you soon find out who's doing it, who's capable of performing at that high level and who's not, and you've had that little extra aspect to those players. But yeah, game intensity over there was the thing, and I think it's what our games lacked, you know, on a week-to-week basis. But I think we've got there, and you know, it took some time, but I think we're up there with them now. So
yeah, I think sorry, Martin. I think also what's happened as well, what's probably helped our game, the English game anyway, right, is the fact that we've had so many English players playing in the NRL over there. back then, you look back then, when we go back to the 80s and the period of time when Martin played and I played, you didn't really have too many. You had a small amount of players, maybe five, six players just playing out there. Now we have a huge plethora of players playing out there and they feel comfortable in the league. And we don't have that frightened feeling about, oh my God, it's the green and gold machines coming. And, we were facing the Mal Meningas then, and you're facing the Andrew Ettinghouse. And it was awesome then. Those players were brilliant.
Yeah.
And to play against those players in that environment, and you're not used to that intensity, was very difficult. So for us to keep up that intensity for 80 minutes, and all the games that we'd won, we'd done marvellous.
Yeah, just not only in terms of the players, but, I think was it the first test in 1990 when we won at Wembley? I think Alan Langer got dropped.
Yeah. I know, mad.
Could you imagine dropping Ellery Hanley or dropping Gary Schofield? It was very, very tough. So, and that's what it was, emotional. I remember we used to have a call, was to hit the beach. That was our defensive. A lot of ours was about making sure we were up there, because you're driven by your emotions. You had to be up there emotionally, because it wasn't. I mean, obviously, people at Ellery were intense players, and I remember playing against Ellery when he was at Leeds, or when he was at Wigan, and I was at Widnes, and he was a very intense. But that's probably why Ellery was head and shoulders above, and went to Australia, and it was just like riding a bike for him.
Yeah.
But for a lot of other players, they had to get there, and then to get there for 2 games, back to back, or when we narrowly missed out in the second test in 1990 at Old Trafford. That was, as you talked about, being mentally right, and Lee Jackson took a dummy, and we're literally 40 seconds away from winning the Ashes and having a totally different conversation.
It's that detail, isn't it?
Yes.
That one play can cost you. In the biggest stage, it is often the smallest detail.
That's your life. That's your life gone. We are having a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
If he doesn't take that, and that is the detail that you have to be down, and you have to do that for 3 lots of 80 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a three.
I think
one
of the big things with Australia, though, for me, and I go back to this, and this will, if I was in camp with the players, one of the things I would be talking about is making sure that the concentration level stays at that level all the time, even with ball or without ball. That's crucial, without a shadow of a doubt. And you can't gloss over it, or you cannot just think to yourself, well, we won't worry about that detail, we've got the ball. It's important that we keep the ball, and what we do with the ball, and where we put the ball.
Yeah.
We know we've got a good kicking game and everything, but Australia are a different level, and they'll put us under a different type of intensity. One, they've got brilliant individuals, and secondly, they've got a collective amount of brilliance in the whole side.
Yeah.
On top of that, then, they've got, as we've mentioned probably several times already, they've got that intensity to stay in a game for 80 minutes. If they have to do that, they'll do that.
Yeah. Well, in 1988, we're just showing Mike Gregory score his try under the sticks.
Yeah.
You wanted the ball.
Yeah.
Did you want the ball, or are you celebrating? I can't work it out.
No, I definitely wanted the ball, and he should have passed it.
He should have passed it to
And I was saying that to him for so many. He should have given me that ball.
Why not?
Feed the goat and he'll score. But now, when I look at it, how many years later, I think, no, you shouldn't have passed him the ball, because that was his iconic moment. That was his moment. And it was such a beautiful moment, being held back by Wally Lewis, and the fact that he just carried on galloping and scored. And if it had passed to me, it would have taken.
It would have just been one of many, wouldn't it? It'd have just
It's 502.
502. just not that you were counting. Just 502. Yeah, it's no big deal.
I just think that the major problem with it's not a problem, but where Australia have it over us is the junior development, the schools, educating the kids coming through over soccer.
It's just a different beast, isn't it?
It's
the
hard to compete with
Australian
that.
machine is
It's
a
hard to
different
compete
beast.
with that.
You mentioned 1990, and I think it's when I said about that period inspiring me as a young kid watching those tests, and British Cole, that jersey, you guys competing so hard against Australia, but 1990 was an interesting series. It was a nearly, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the first test, I just remember, I think I scored a try off a high bomb that you put up, and something that I said to myself at the time, in that moment, I thought to myself, because I passed you the ball from dummy half, and I thought, I'm in front of the kicker here.
Did you?
No, it's
I
on
don't
here.
know.
We can have a look. We can watch.
I don't know how you remember it. No, it's brilliant how you remember
No,
it.
I passed it, but I've just remembered because I've seen it recently that I
Yes.
thought to myself,
You were
in that
offside.
moment, I was
You were
offside.
offside.
So I waited for him to run.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I'm offside, so I waited for him to overtake me. He goes, and then I just attack. It was a half volley which I picked up, and I tell you, if I didn't just attack that, I probably would have knocked it on. But I just had to go for it.
So you had presence of mind to
And
get
the
back
present
on
mind to
side.
get onside and just to go for it. And I said that is the detail which gets you. And and I'd never played at Wembley before. I hadn't been fortunate enough to play in the Challenge Cup final. I'd never played at Wembley before, and that was a moment. So to actually do that and to play with Ellery and win, it was amazing.
Pinpoint kick, Ellery.
It
On the money, wasn't it?
It was an awesome kick. But if
on
you
the
see,
stage,
so obviously
yeah.
I'm offside, so I hang back and bang, just pick up the. You've got to be there.
You've got to be there on the spot.
On the
You were
spot.
quite often there, weren't
Yeah,
you?
but I mean, if I wasn't presence of mind, I would have just seen the kick and then gone for it. But I just
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
I remember at the moment thinking, no, I can't. I'm offside. I'm dummy off. So
Right.
let him go. And those are the little details, not taking dummy. They're the things that make a difference. Just scoring tries, not
Yeah,
scoring tries, making your
absolutely, yeah.
kicks. It is those small things.
And just to continue with that theme, what Martin's talking about, as in the modern game now, today, as the players play in the Super League now, it's what you do after that then. And, you know, the great thing what we did at that particular time, and we did it well for that probably 80 minutes, we were able to go back, we were able to bring our body clock down in terms of making sure calmness came within us, and then we got back on with the game as if it was 0-0 again. And it's something that you have to have in your game at all times in terms of having that concentration, just in the simple. How many times have we seen in just in Super Leagues, never mind internationals, you've scored a try and all of a sudden there's a knock on then after the kick-off. So it's so crucial that when I talk about intensity and concentration, that all these little things have to be taken care of.
Should we get Ellery in? Let's get him in.
I think we learnt a lot on tour, you know, because it was a day-to-day,
Yeah.
you know.
It was quite a long
aspect.
tour as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what you do though. When you're on a tour and you're on a tour for 3 months and you're with the players and you're inside each other's pockets, well, you generally pick up all these small details and habits, and you familiarise yourself with them, and you get comfortable on the footy park with them. And you take them away, just even when you go to play in the countrysides, the games in the outbacks.
Yeah, it doesn't change,
It doesn't change.
No.
And I think what else also happens as well, when you're on a tour as well, you actually think to yourself, well, do you know, you get to know that player even more so. You get an understanding about
closer.
that. You get so much closer, I think personally. Than even a week to week coming in during the course of a season, because you're there with them for 24 hours.
And we was also playing, I mean, don't forget, we were there in Australia in 88, then 90, 92, 94. So there was a bit of frequency, continuity, and we were playing them. And obviously, we'd never lost 3-0 in the series, and every series was pretty close.
Yeah, it was almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At that period, I remember watching and thinking, just almost every time, you know, just fell a little bit short. I want to talk about toughness, Mal. What does toughness mean to you, and toughness in the sense of the Ashes?
I think it's the mental preparation, what you expect of yourself. And if you do that and achieve it, then, you know, toughness is it's been done.
Yeah.
You know, on the right path. But you've got to have the right players, you know, that's going to tough it out
Yeah.
when it happens. So.
Yeah. Martin, do you know one thing I think is really lazy when people talk about your career is something that I think is really underestimated, is your toughness. You know, we talk
Toughness is I could take getting punched in the head, you know.
yeah, but I thought you did really tough
That's why he
things.
can run so fast.
He's just running away. But you're a tough,
No.
Toughness comes in all, you know, it's not just going out being aggressive and punching somebody. It's being able to have that discipline to take a knock and stuff in the head and don't let it put you off your game and still carry on. So, yeah, it's mental toughness. It's understanding your why, understanding what the goal is. And I mean, I want to score tries. I want to win. I don't want to win a fight. You know, that's not my. I'm not sitting there because I want to be a great boxer. If I want to be a boxer, go box.
For me, toughness they link themselves very close together with discipline in terms of, let me give you an example. If we've got play going on, and we're the England side here, and Australia have got the ball, if we haven't got mental toughness of moving up on the blind side, we've gathered all the information in classroom sessions and understanding, don't get lazy on the blind side, don't get lazy even on the open side, right? You'll get punished. There's no question about it. And there's no point coming in the classroom afterwards and then thinking to yourself, well, we're going to highlight this on the video now, and we're going to recognise now, well, we should have moved up on the blind and that we could have closed all that play down. This is about being mentally strong and mentally tough and understanding that every split second, as I keep saying, counts on the footy field. You change the course and the history of the game forever. If you don't do the right thing on the footy park at that particular time, if you haven't got off the ground because you haven't been mentally tough, because you think you've made 2 tackles, or Australia are playing rapid football and they're on a roll, and you haven't got off that ground, these are the simple things what you'll do more often than anything else. Not the fancy plays, right? It's simplicity what beats Australia. Hence why I said right at the start of this interview, these are the things what will beat Australia. Right. You've got to stay in the game as long as possible with the small details of the game.
How much does fitness, play?
I was about to say, that's what underpins it. Yeah. Because fitness, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And that's why if someone's knackered, that's when you're going to have you're looking for shortcuts, you're looking for this, and all the discipline and the mental things goes that way. So you have to have that fitness, but also it's, as we know, getting better at anything takes repetition. Don't care what no one says. If you haven't done something before and you're going to try and do it, whereas if you've been doing it for the last couple of years and you're fit, it's going to make it a lot.
You can't turn it on, can you?
We did sometimes. We did turn it on, but you can turn it on briefly. But it's hard to turn it on for a 3-game series. And then if you're carrying a knock or you get injured or your winger goes off, you know what I mean? Because I truly believe, without a shadow of a doubt, if I'm on that pitch, we win that, and I believe that without question of a doubt. If I was still on that pitch and I didn't go off on the second test at Old Trafford, Mal Meninga...
Paul Lachlan comes on and replaces you. You get a knock.
Yeah, I get a knock, and I think Carl Gibson was centre. He went onto the wing and gets shoved out the way by Mal Meninga, and I said, there's no way Ricky Stewart is making all that. Imagine that 40 seconds away and he's there. Mate, I'm getting him. And that's what I have to live with. I don't put it on anybody else, but there's nothing you can do. You're in, you've got to be fit.
I think that 10-metre drill helped us a lot, to sort of not only the aspect of defence, but fitness as well, going down to sprinting 20 metres, back 10, sort of up again, we worked it up the field.
Is it named after you?
That's right.
It's named after you, Malcolm. That's basically shuttle runs.
Malcolm, this is one of the aspects I was talking about in terms of when you go into test match, you make sure when you go into a classroom situation, as you did, we make sure we keep everything as simple as possible for the whole squad. Simplicity, because from the Australians, there's going to be nothing complicated in terms of they're going to do anything fancy. They're going to run plays as fast as they can. They're going to play the ball as quickly as they can. They're going to make sure that they've left players on the ground and they're playing at a high intensity all the time. And eventually you collapse because your lungs can't take it and your legs can't take it. And all of a sudden it's dog-legged. And all of a sudden your line's not going up straight and they go in between the spaces. That's what happens if you haven't got that fitness and concentration and the intensity.
Isn't it funny though that all the things that you're all talking about, all fascinating, it's such small things. There's no big, there's no silver bullet, is there?
No. But John, can I just tell you this, right? Let me tell you something. This what makes the game completely. This what makes the whole game up. People talk about all these fancy plays and all these block runs and what good shape and everything like this. Let me tell you, it's the basics. Control the ruck. Make sure your blind side moves up, cut down the space and thinking time down of the opposition on both sides of the ruck, send your chase team down there, make sure your first up defence is absolutely solid. This is what wins games.
Nullify their key players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they've got some.
People like Andrew Johns is outstanding, but you've got to make sure if you're playing against them that they don't take that advantage. And
how do you nullify? How do you go about nullifying maybe somebody like a Nathan Cleary?
Well, contact as often as you can.
Put him on his bum.
I think one of the big things with outstanding and brilliant individuals, what they will be bringing across with them, Australia, I think you've got to cut down the space and thinking time of them. It's one of the for me, it's one of the big things in footy. If you don't do that and you give them space and time, they then pick the runners where they want to run, and they look for their holes.
That's why we got in their faces, Ellery, isn't it? That
absolutely.
10-metre drill, you know, you were sprinting at them, and they were taking the ball, but they've got to concentrate on receiving the ball. And if you're in the faces, there's a big chance that you'll be getting the ball.
Yeah, we just had Adrian Morley on just before you guys, and he spoke about physicality, about the importance of that, about taking aggression and physicality to the Australians. That if an England team perform well, there will be an element of that in it, without a doubt.
And it's got to be controlled, because otherwise you're going to go down there, and if you go out of control. Having said that, Sean Edwards did that.
I know. Yeah,
he still managed to win in '94.
I think the thing with Sean Wayne, the head coach there, I have a lot of respect for him, and one of the things what Sean, and I know this for a fact because I played with him for decades basically, and I know with Sean, the one thing with him, no missed tackles. But the discipline is a massive factor with him. He won't stand for anybody whatsoever in the whole squad with any cheap shots or unnecessary penalties. Otherwise, you're putting the whole rest of the organisation on the football paddock under pressure completely. And Australians, they will take advantage of it completely, and you will be on the back foot. So I don't really have a problem in terms of thinking that our players, even though they're going to go with physicality into the game, that we're going to have a worry with that at all. I think that there's going to be no drama in that sense whatsoever. There may be a stray one sometimes. You've seen players in the game now where they've been falling and they've been clipped, you know, and it's been accidental, a lot of them. It's almost like a rugby incident really on the footy paddock. So I don't think there's a problem in regards to that whatsoever. The physicality will be there.
I love it. I think everyone's really excited for the Ashes. We're delighted it's back, aren't we? I think that's will you be watching, Malcolm?
Absolutely, yeah, we'll be,
We all be watching. We're going to get Ellery in. I think he should do the team talk pre first test. He's got me all revved up.
Well,
that blindside defence. Let me tell you, that blindside defence would never be more keen to get up. Gents, it's been a pleasure actually just to listen to some of your thoughts on the Ashes. I think we're all excited for it at the end of the year, and thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.